Welcome to Big Blend Radio, where we celebrate variety and how it adds spice to quality of life.
Go on.
Welcome, everybody. Today, we're excited to kick off the Joey Stuckey Alive Day. Joey is an award-winning blind guitarist, songwriter, singer, composer, producer, radio and TV personality, music columnist, educator, and sound engineer. He is based out of Macon, Georgia, which is known as the Southern rock capital of the world. And he is the music ambassador of Macon, Georgia. We're excited to have him back on Big Blend Radio. He hosts our Big Daily Blend podcast with us every fourth Sunday. But September 29th is a super special day. Today, this is part one of our podcast panel discussions, as well as a big, giant, it's big music playlist with musicians that are on the show today, as well as musicians that you know from Big Blend Radio, as well as all kinds of other great songs that you know about. But these are all about music, songs and music to inspire and make you feel good. And Joey's going to tell us all about what Alive Day is. Nancy's here. Nancy, you good? You're all cozy on the couch there? I'm going to bring our special guest.
Looking out at the pond with a heron.
And a gator. So there you go. It's all fun out here in Florida as we record this. But before we get Joey on the show, I'm going to introduce our guest, but Joey's going to come on first and tell us what Alive Day is. It's a very special day, and it's inspiring for all of us. It happens every year on September 29th. It basically gives Joey a reason to eat cake twice a year. You can have it as much as you want, but there's our birthdays, and then you get special days like this. But I encourage you to go to his website, joeystuckey.com. So, Joey, yay, happy Alive Day.
Oh, thank you, my friend. It's good to be with you as always.
It was good to actually meet you in person the other day, too.
I know. That was one of the best things that happened to me all year. So I got to give Nancy a big hug, give you a big hug, and that was great.
You know what? We got lucky with the Stuckey.
That used to be, I did several local music shows here in town. And one of my friends did what we call a drop or a liner. And that was one of the things. You got so lucky you got the homegrown show with Joey Stuckey. So it's not the first time I've heard that.
I didn't think it would be the first time. I mean, but not it was really cool to actually go into your studio. Really, it's everybody's Shadow Sound studio in Macon, right in historic downtown Macon, which is full of charm. They even have pianos in the street. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, that's true.
What a wonderful historic building you have with all kinds of music memorabilia, people that have signed posters for Joey. But I learned a lot about sound going into the different parts of his studio, and I can't tell you, he's got a whole lot of knobs. Just saying.
I love my big knobs.
He does. Yeah, he cannot lie.
Very true.
They're right. So we have to start off with some humor here, but before we bring our special guests on, and everyone, just so you know who they are, we have Kevin Sully from the Walkabout Band up in upstate Long Island. I'm going to say upstate Long Island, up in Long Island area of New York. And we also have Tom Rule from Macon, Georgia as well. He was on the show we did last year about Alive Day. Kevin Sully has been on the show with the Walkabouts for over a number of years, actually spanned the years. So it's going to be great to catch up with them. But Joey, before we bring everyone on, tell us a little bit about Alive Day and why this is such an important day for you, but also for that message that we can all, connect with as well individually.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am a blind brain tumor survivor, and I was diagnosed with a brain tumor when I was 18 months old. And what had happened was that my dad had sort of let go of my hand, and he turned his back for a second, and I took a step and fell down a flight of about 30 stairs. And they rushed me to the hospital because they were terrified that I'd hurt myself. Amazingly, it didn't, or at least I'll after the podcast, you can decide if it hurt me or not. But they said, I think this kid's blind. And so the next step was to figure out, why. And so they discovered I had a brain tumor that was growing at a really exponential rate. So it had to come out or it was going to take my life. And it had already destroyed my vision and my sense of smell. It also destroyed my entire endocrine system. So I don't make adrenaline. I don't have any adrenal function. I don't have a thyroid, all that kind of fun stuff. In later years, as a latent result of the brain tumor, I had to have a metal hip replacement, metal shoulder replacement. So it's continued to be a real challenge. But the thing that happened when I was 2 was they said that, if they didn't take the tumor out, they knew I was going to die. And if they did take the tumor out, I probably was going to die. And if I did live, I wouldn't walk or talk. And so, as you can imagine, for very young parents and for a young child, that's a pretty traumatic stuff to cope with. But what my parents did, which was absolutely brilliant, my parents tried to turn a day of fear and dread and stuff like that and anxiety into an affirmational day. So they came up with a very simple but profound way of looking at it. So instead of the day you almost died, it's the day that you lived and beat the odds. And that's a very profound sort of paradigm shift. It's kind of deceptively simple. But, I was in ICU for 45 days after the brain tumor surgery. I almost died several times later in life as a young child. But to keep me positive and me excited and me happy and me prospering and growing and learning and all the things that a child needs to do, they had that very simple shift. So it was a second birthday for my entire childhood. And even as an adult and a teenager, we would celebrate quietly with friends because my parents always thought that you should take every opportunity to celebrate. Small triumphs, large successes, whatever it is, there's plenty of time in life that you can't celebrate. So when you are able to, you should. And so in 2017, I realized that a live day could be so much more than just a private celebration. So we started a free family-friendly music festival in the heart of downtown Macon. And it was designed to give people a chance to celebrate their own joys, their own triumphs, to revel in the joy of music, to reconnect to community and friends and neighbors. And it's always been free. It costs about $10,000 to put the thing on. And I raised about 60% of that with sponsors and then sort of bankroll the rest. And we've done it even through, it's taken several different shapes over the years, but even through COVID, we did some stuff on Facebook. And this year, things just didn't work out to where I had enough time to plan it because everything was so busy and it was just so crazy that we could do it. So we're doing it in podcast form this year. So every year we celebrate it in some form or fashion. But the real mission is, to tell my story as an example of joy and success and beating the odds, but also just to allow everybody else to celebrate their story. So that's kind of a live day.
I love it. I love it because, and this, doing this as a podcast form, it's something out there for anyone that can listen online around the world, across the country. And it's there indefinitely, so long as someone doesn't pull the plug on us. So everybody watch our language. You know what I mean? It's, which is harder for me than anyone else.
Until the earth follows the sun, it's there.
But this is such a special thing. And we're creating the biggest music playlist to celebrate being alive, which I think is awesome. And, Nancy, what was the song you added to the playlist?
That Little Old Wine Drinker Me. Preferably sang by Dean Martin.
Yeah, absolutely.
that would be Nancy.
He's great. He's fantastic. The funny thing about the amazing thing, and all the panel can weigh in on this, of course, and I think we all have our perspective, but the amazing thing is that even the sad songs can make you feel better. And that's the amazing power that music has, is that it can unite us. It can remind us of good times. It can help us celebrate not being in the bad times anymore, or it can make us feel seen and understood and connected to say, oh, somebody else has gone through this. So music is powerful and positive always in my mind.
All right.
It definitely comes from the heart.
That's right. That's right. Let me get everybody on so everyone can touch on this. Let's start with Tom, since you're in Macon, Georgia. and he likes to hang out in Waffle House, I believe, Tom.
Despite Tom's many flaws, he's one of my best friends in the whole world. I love him. I take a bullet for him.
Oh, that is awesome. Everyone, you can go to tomrule.info/Waffle House. No, I'm not kidding. There's no Waffle House, but welcome back, Tom. How are you?
I am still insane. Hey, you guys were in town, Joey, dude, and you didn't call me, you buzzard. I work up the
that's a good
video.
We got buzzards on the show now. That's good.
It was at 11 a.m. and I didn't think about it. I only think at nighttime.
Well, you know what? We're going to go through Georgia again, so we'll see you when we go through again.
This time we'll make a big party out of it.
Okay,
sounds good.
We'll have cake.
We can or waffles at Waffle House.
Oh yeah,
Tom's buying.
Listen, you say Waffle House, and Nancy and I are there in a instant. There's something about Waffle House.
Well, there's a reason the second tune on my last album was Waffle House Breakfast.
That's funny.
And what's the reason?
Yeah.
Do what?
What's the reason?
That's where I wrote the song.
Well, how many musicians hang out there after a gig too?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't stay up that late.
He's getting older.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Which there's only one choice to get older or not get older. But I will tell you this: my favorite Waffle House memory is we had just opened for Ted Nugent, and it was late, and we were coming back from this is before Tom's time in the band. And we were coming back and we were starving because catering, they kept telling us that there was a catering truck where we could go and get food. And every time we went in there, they could say, no, this is for Ted Nugent. You can't eat in here. So we were really hungry. So we stopped at a Waffle House and two very drunk young ladies kept throwing M&Ms at us. So that was my favorite Waffle House memory. So,
waffles and M&Ms. I love it. It's no wonder you wanted M&M on the playlist,
Absolutely.
I love this. I love that. It's all about Tom. But I want to bring our next guest on.
His wife never said.
Oh. Ooh. Well, he's got the last name Rule too.
Well,
wow.
The puns are legion. Let me tell you,
they are legion.
Yeah, you've heard of rules of thumb. Well, I've got thumbs of rule.
Yes. Okay. Oh, the punishment.
Why do I suddenly want to go into politics on this? I don't know why, but
don't do it.
Don't do it. It's about music and a live day. So let's
don't do it.
What do you say? Rules of thumb. I just went like boom right there, but I won't do it. I'm going to keep it all positive and happy. Kevin Anderson is here from the Walkabout Band. You can find them on Facebook and go there because you're going to enjoy all this amazing music. Welcome back, Kevin. How are you?
Good. Very good. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's good to have you back on the show. We've got Sully, lead singer, also from the Walkabout Band from over in Australia. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I hope everyone else is well. Joey,
good.
That was an amazing story.
Thanks for being part
full
of
hope and optimism, and I think you're dead right. Your parents had the right idea. It's a gift. Good on you, man.
Yeah, definitely is. It kind of makes it, things that happened to me over my lifetime seem very small and good to be alive.
It is good to be alive. It really is. And my parents, this is in the dark ages of medicine, really, compared to what we have today. And, they were just, they just exude love and joy. And I was so fortunate to have them there. It was very difficult for them because I was in ICU after the surgery for 45 days. And that was really very difficult. So, my mom would stay in the daytime and my dad would stay at night, and they both worked. But the interesting thing, I always tell this because even at 2 years old, my dad was teaching me and educating me while I was in the hospital. So I've always been restless at night. I've always been, which is I think one of the reasons I'm a musician is because I'm able to get out and do things at night. And I've always been a little restless and had a hard time laying down and sleeping. And, I've always been, so when I got real restless, if I was well enough to be held or moved, which varied from day to day, but he would pick me up and walk me up and down the hallways in the ICU. And it was a large children's hospital. and they'd walk me up into the hallways, and he would say things like, we're getting close to the door that takes us out of the hospital, and there's a red sign above the door, and it says exit, and exit spelled EXIT. And he would just constantly talk to me about what he was seeing and what was around. And so I never really felt blind per se, because firstly, I don't remember seeing, but secondly, he was always describing the world around me. And so, and then as time progressed, he would say, okay, which part of the hospital went? I said, oh, we're near the exit door. How do you spell exit? EXIT, Dad. So
wow.
they were doing all these amazing things, and with nothing to guide them but love and hope. And so it was really, they're really incredible people. Dad is 86 and still works 70 hours a week. In fact, last night I helped him fix an air vent on the side of our wall that was coming loose. And at like midnight, he was like, oh, this is coming loose. Dad, let's leave it till the morning. No, we're gonna fix it tonight. And I thought, oh God, he's getting the drill.
Well, that's,
but anyway, he's incredible.
Joey, I wanted to say, because you just went to the 100th birthday of President Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
And it looked like you had some good music that you experienced.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
But his story, I mean, it was so funny because we were actually driving into Macon to see you, and they were, it just happened that celebration for him. And they were on NPR. His grandson was on NPR talking about him.
Right.
And he had just received another award. I mean, he's got the Nobel Peace Prize, but another award, I think something to do with the foundation in Ohio for his latest book. And I didn't realize, Nancy and I we didn't know he'd written over 30 something books. And,
there's a bunch.
And that, I mean, he's been in hospice for how long?
A couple years.
Which is unreal. So he's still rocking, and it's how do you feel about that with your experience, and then going to see someone, that's 100 years old? I mean, you've known over the years in your family,
I mean, my dad was a big part of his campaign and his administration, and when he won and when he lost. And, I think, I remember, being at a lot of different events as a child when I was well enough, which was not often. But certainly he's been a part of my sort of mental, spiritual landscape, since I've been alive. And, the interesting thing is, several years ago, they started putting out packets. When I say packets, I mean media packets, all the big news outlets, because he'd gone into hospice and they're all thinking he's going to die. And, here he is. He's still alive. I actually heard some people, that were staffers, for the Carter Center at this, reception. We went to the reception, which was a pretty closed event. And then we went to the concert, which was a little bit more open event, still a hard ticket to get. But, anyway, we were at the reception and I heard some staffers talking about it, and they were saying that, he really wants to, October 1st is his actual 100th birthday. And, he really wants to make it to that benchmark. And then, then he said that if, whatever happened after that was okay. And, I think his determination, I think the thing that I admire most, whether you liked him or not as a president, what he's done outside the office is what's so incredible to me.
Legacy.
Yeah. And that's what's so incredible. I mean, all the different things that the Carter Center has done, around the world. So, one of the things that's, so special about him is this is a guy who actually, didn't just give money to Habitat for Humanity. There are people who have actually had their houses built.
He swung a hammer
by a former president of the United States. I mean, just the determination, when he set his mind to something, the determination. And I've actually been to his church a couple times and sung and done some different things. When he sometimes he would come and do a guest sermon at his church in Plains. And so I've been there and sung while he was, doing his, talk. and everything. So just a remarkable fellow. And certainly that's the kind of spirit that we're talking about for a live day. We're talking about people who just every day get up and keep going.
Optimistic.
And you know, the interesting thing is just by any one of us keep on going when things are hard serves as inspiration to everybody else.
Yep.
And they think, well, if that guy can do it, maybe I can do it too. And that's the other thing when we talk about music. I mean, I was saying this, earlier, but even like songs like I'm a huge fan of the Smiths, and their songs are not particularly upbeat. But Morrissey does have sort of the emotional bandwidth of a 13-year-old girl. But I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan. And the reason I'm a huge fan is because I felt that way before.
The emotion.
Yeah. Like I felt that way before. I understand what he's talking about. I mean, again, it's all very melodramatic, but there are times in one's life when you do feel a little melodramatic. So anyway.
It's good that you can identify with something, someone, an animal, bird, trees, whatever it is. If you identify with a sound and a picture or picture, you feel you're not alone.
Absolutely.
And feeling alone sometimes you're like, okay, I just want to be alone. But that's a temporary feeling.
Yeah, right. We all need our space from time to time, but
Yeah. With this whole thing today with the podcast and celebrating a live day, and when I put a call out to everyone about what we're doing at the playlist and the conversations, is really also kicking off something that Joey and I have talked about. And I think, I've talked about this a lot with musicians on our show, is the importance of, and we've done this conversation, Joey, on the shows a lot, I know. And Nancy, we've talked about this over and over. There's regionality of music, and musicians in their community, their regional community, tend to stick together too. It's like, hey, my amp blew. Hey, I need an amp tonight. It's like one of my biggest gigs. Someone's going to come through for you with that amp, or someone doesn't show as a bandmate or something like that. There's that. And musicians finding out, don't go to this bar and play. They don't pay. They just want to give you a plate of food. That's not good enough, y'all. I'm just saying, musicians should get paid. But
they want the food and the money.
Yeah, that's right. And and don't throw the beer bottles either. But it's to have this community. But music, I think I put that in the email to everyone. It's like the glue that puts unity in community. It is, because it goes everywhere forever. I mean, it's not just regional. It is everywhere.
And it can connect everyone no matter what the language. Sometimes a musical piece can just get the emotions going. That doesn't matter what language or where you are on the planet. You hear it, you know what it does through the emotions it evokes.
Mm.
Yeah, I was in Italy last year in Milan, and I was in a cab, and the song came on the radio. And I don't speak Italian or Spanish for that matter, because apparently if you speak Spanish, you can kind of understand Italian and vice versa. But I don't speak either one of those. But this song came on the radio that just had me instantly excited, and it was wonderful. And I Shazammed it with my iPhone and bought the thing while I was sitting in the cab. And I can't remember the name of the band because it's also in Italian. But absolutely it's on my iPhone. Yeah, and I don't speak any of that stuff, and I don't know what turns out they were talking about a man who had a lot of charisma, because there's a quasi English version on the album. Apparently the chorus doesn't translate into English, but the verses they kind of did, and so there's the quasi. But I mean, that's not the version I listened to. That version sucks. So it's like I want to hear it, but it was amazing, and it's so true that music from around the world can just excite you, even if there's a language barrier.
Yep.
It doesn't really matter.
It crosses all barriers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're nomadic. Yeah. Human beings are nomadic, and we've shifted and changed throughout centuries, right?
We do.
Around. Yeah. And that means, and I think it's like this, there's musical deja vu that we just don't know. Like whales know where to go. They know we're going to go down to Mexico during the fall, and then we're going to go back up, right?
I think you're talking about teenagers. Aren't you talking? No. Oh, you're talking about Wales? Okay. Because they go down to Mexico too on vacation.
I know. Or Florida to the Panhandle, but they go down, but they got that magnet in them. And I think we do in music. Yeah. Sometimes you hear something and I feel like it comes from a past life. I'm getting weird now, but why not? No, but it's like a past life or something and I wonder down the road if they're going to, because they found out so much through DNA, if certain music comes through our DNA that we have a sense memory of from an ancestor, Mm-hmm. I think if you look at in different tribes around the world, I mean, now the walkabout band, you guys get that. You've got, when you get the didgeridoo out, you get that ancestral feeling and you've got that. I mean, oh my gosh, when you guys do the didgeridoo, like that, to me, I'm into Tuvan's throat singing. See now how that connects to the didgeridoo. See, this is all these different cultures, but you can feel, I mean, growing up in Africa, I mean, it's like, I listen to so much music that makes no sense to people but for me, you know what I mean? It's with different languages or different sounds, but half of our instruments don't even come from where we are.
No, they come from all
music's the international language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a note is a note because a note cannot lie.
Mm.
If you look at it, it's like a number. A number can't lie. A number will always be that number. A note will always be that note. You cannot.
There's a T-shirt in there somewhere.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Note this note.
Face.
Well, that's the Alive Day logo.
Notes would create other notes, like dollar notes. That would be good.
That would help the music community.
Hey, so Joey, have you got any? Sorry to barge in. Have you got any of the your early musical memories, like when?
Yeah.
When did you start?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my mom, it's really interesting. My dad was an amateur country musician who played guitar, and he can't. He's hearing impaired, so he really can't sing. It's really we listen to it because we love him, but it is painful. It really is sad. It's pretty close to dogs howling. It's really rough. And one of his uncles actually paid him one time to stop singing. If you're a musician, you're going to take the money. So, it's like, oh, you want to pay me to stop? It's the same thing.
I hadn't heard that one.
Oh, it's true. But he was a country musician, and so he was always playing things like Hank Williams Sr. And people like that, and
so there was always music in the home.
There was. Eddie Arnold was the classic country he was listening to, and then my mom, what we would call in the educational system sacred music. She was always playing like gospel hymns and stuff like that because her father was a preacher, and then she also loved classical music and opera. And then my mom, when she found out she was pregnant with me, started playing bird sounds and nature sounds and all that kind of stuff to me as in utero. And so I was always surrounded by music. I did not approach it myself until I was about 17, because most of my early life was just a fight for survival and to get through school and just to do the stuff I had to do. I mean, I always loved music and played music on the radio, and we used to do. I mean, my friends and I would get together and have listening parties. Like everybody would bring over the new album they bought that month, and we'd sit down and listen to them all the way through. And, so it was always a big part of my life. But I didn't start playing until I was about 17. Right. But I actually started my career as a sound geek and a sound engineer at the age of 13, where I started just using the scientific method. My parents bought me a couple of inexpensive tools from Radio Shack, and a couple little microphones and a little mixer and a boom box. And I just started recording stuff. And I just like, oh, what happens if I put the microphone here? And what happens if I put the microphone there? And what happens if I move far away or I move close up or hang it from above? So I just started playing around. And by the time I was 15, I had my first job as a sound technician for the local planetarium. So that's my start. I mean, there's always been music in our house. And always, I'll say this, the other thing that our house was always full of was laughter. So there's always been tons of laughter and music, which is very helpful when you're not doing well.
As, by the way, Joey always includes Monty Python on the music playlist. You know,
I do
you do.
because I'm a real boy.
But this actually leads.
Always
This
look on the bright side of life.
That's my song. That's what I put on there.
That's his
It's
song.
just a flesh wound.
Oh,
It's just a flesh wound. That's right.
Stop picking your nose.
No, that's the best.
As much gold as I can eat. Anyway,
here we go. I love it. But I do
I've
actually want to
worn my wife down over the years that she's now a Python fan.
Well, good for you.
It took about 15 years, but it finally worked.
But you went to the Faulty Tower restaurant.
Oh.
We did. We went to the Faulty Tower in London.
I would kill for that, but I wouldn't kill anyone. You know that, but I would be close to it.
Well, I was very excited because they made fun of me there and gave me a hard time because Jennifer was saying, "Hey, your spoon's on your left," and the guy that played Basil Fawlty walked behind me and said, "Oh, is there a problem with Sir's spoon?" And he's like, "Well, perhaps you'd prefer straws." And I was like, I would. So he brought me some straws, and I put it in my soup and started sucking it to the straws. So you're not gonna outdo me, buddy.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Cool. That's cool.
I do want to go to everyone that's on the show and find out about not necessarily when you started music, but when was it that you realized, not that you just really loved it and this is going to be something you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, right? But what was a moment you can say that, wow, you saw this positive effect of your music that you were doing on other people?
1776.
Yeah, you're starting in 1776, right? So let's start with you, Tom. In your music, when did you realize that this is something that is not just for making music for yourself, but needs to be out there for others? That kind of effect.
Oh, that's a tough one because I was
and every album has a side of hash browns from Waffle House.
Really. Actually, I really don't know. I've been performing since I was in middle school. I was in the Chattanooga Boys Choir beginning in third grade, and we were performing beginning in sixth grade. So I've always just performed, and that was vocals. And when I got to college, I just was majoring in piano because that's what I wanted to do. No real thought to it. It's just, that's what I need to do. And it's kind of just gone from there. I mean, my first album was 1999. So that was a long gestation period, but I've just always performed, always created in some form or fashion or the other. It's just what I do. Now, has it been my primary source of income? Not always, but it's always been something there, and I've always been involved in music.
What about you, Kev?
Well, I was just thinking of that. I mean, my music started probably the same time I started cooking, being a former chef. I started playing 61 years ago. And that's when I started cooking. And really playing out when I was 12 and 13 years old in the early 70s. Actually in a country and western band, believe it or not. And
I do believe that.
And that it just why I don't know. I mean, my father had this story. He's really the one that got me into music, especially when he told me that he was in a band where he grew up on the farm in Massachusetts that he was fired from because he never showed up or rehearsed.
Well,
he gave his Martin. And that was it. I took off after that. I mean, I've been playing guitar and I love it. I love music. I love writing. I've been with Kitty, 1975 from high school, and yeah, man, it's awesome. She's a big influence on how I feel and the direction of a lot of music that I've done. But over the past couple of years, Sully and I have been talking about it. We're kind of taking what we're doing now, and we're going to add.
Kevin, you went away.
He's vanished.
Oh, it's a brain worm. well,
No.
are you, oh,
or a network worm.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll come back, Kev, okay. So anyway, Sully, you want to pick up on that about
Okay,
music?
I'll continue
Yeah.
on. Well, I think it was probably 10 years or more after I'd started playing music, and I had young children, so I stopped for a couple of years until they were old enough I could put them to bed and rehearse in the studio in the back of the house. But those 2 years, I was thinking, I've got the perfect life, but there's still something missing, and I think it was playing music, and that was the first time I realised how much it meant to me. And now I look back and think one of the big reasons was it's possibly the only way I had of conveying my emotions. And without music, I may have not had the tools to get through the experiences that I went through.
Wow.
So I look back and go, oh, it's really important for me in that respect, So some songs are very deeply emotionally things that I need to get off my chest, and others are just stories of places I've been or things I've seen or whatever else. But making music and playing music it can take you from a pretty average place to a pretty good place halfway into a song. And if that has the effect on other people as well, and it has to, because if you project and then it comes back, it's honest that they've felt it as well. So it's very important.
You guys have the song "Things Are Looking Up," and even if you're feeling crappy, you put it on, and that's when you can get into your fake it till you make it mode, and it's a good song. I mean, you guys have written such good, powerful music to move you forward, and also, some of it, sometimes I listen to it and go, some of it I think is politically charged to me. Like I listen to it and I'm like, oh, what's going on there?
Subtly, there is hints in there, but I won't go into details.
Yeah, we'll behave. But there's
things
subtle...
are looking up. I was sitting on my sister's couch in Australia, and I'd just gone to see my cardiologist, and he said, we want to put a defibrillator in your chest this week. And I went, I'm supposed to sail a boat to Hawaii from Fiji next week. I can't do that. And the doctor said, well, I'd consider not going to Hawaii and get this done if I was you. Anyway, I rang the captain, and he goes, I'll just speak to the medical officer, which is his wife. And he goes, no way, Sully, you can't come on this trip. Imagine if you died halfway across, it'd ruin a good trip. So, but Kevin had sent me those lyrics. I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself, but he also said, the captain, look, get that thing put in, and you're definitely first person I called for the next trip. So even though I was in a bit of a spot, there was still, room for optimism. And music can give you that.
I love that. I didn't know that story. Kev, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm back. My phone fell. It tipped over and it didn't have a helmet on. I forgot to fasten the chin strap.
No. Kev, you're wonky. You've gone wonky. If I were, your internet's gone wonky on you. So Kev, I would say, can you hang up and call back in? I'm just going to say.
Okay. Can you hear me?
No, you're wonky. You've gone to space.
Gone to
okay. I'll be back.
Oh, see, now this is the fun thing about podcasting. We did a lot of live shows for over 10 years of live podcasts. And it was back in the day where, we did it over the phone and internet. And, just when you thought nothing else could, phase you on things going wrong, life always says, oh yeah, watch this. You need to learn something else new. But that's the thing too, as musicians. I want to go to you, Joey, because I wonder about that as musicians, man. You could have the best band with the best sound, and one person can go in and mess up the entire gig by a bad sound. And you have to somehow fix that because, how do you move forward from that as a musician?
Well, I have been through every possible scenario you can imagine with a live show. And what I will tell you is, I've had shows, a live day last year my pedal board stopped working, and
Wow.
and then some of the stuff we had set up to record the show, we were going to multi-track the show, and some of the stuff we had set up, due to the inexperience of the sound crew at the venue, we had to take out of the system at the last minute because they didn't understand how to run it with that system set up. And it wasn't hard, but there was no teaching. I couldn't teach them in that moment. I just said, we'll just take it out of the loop. And then my pedal board went down. My drummer was an hour and a half late for sound check. Everything just went wrong. And then at the last minute, the day before, the people that were supposed to provide food for the bands backstage said they had no knowledge of the agreement, and that an employee of theirs had made the agreement without their permission. And I said, well, all I know is this person said they represented you. Here's all the emails. And they finally did honor it, but it was late and difficult. So anyway,
it was a wild day. You remember my keyboard had that bad hum
that's
in
right.
it too.
I forgot about that. Yeah, Tom's keyboard had a bad 60 cycle hum that we couldn't figure out why that was going on.
Oh, wow.
So it was tough, but it didn't matter because when Showtime came along, everybody had the right spirit and the right attitude. And the main thing to remember is that no matter what happens, if you keep a good positive attitude and you have fun, the audience will
come through the speakers.
And all the technical issues, like I just did a version of my keynote speech that I gave at ISMER in Milan last year. I did a version of it this past weekend for an AES audio conference. And I showed them one of my songs that had all kind of technical issues with it because of how it was recorded. We recorded it in Memphis at the famous Sun Studio, and they run it as a museum from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then from 7 to 10 p.m. you can book it to record. And they're still using amps from the 60s and 70s and microphones from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and they only have like an 8-channel board, and everybody's in the same room. And several things I asked for them to do for me, they ended up not doing it. But I didn't know that. Several microphone placements, but I didn't know they didn't do it because I couldn't see. I mean, I can't see, and once they said, yeah, we'll do that, I just checked it off my list. And as soon as they would follow through, when I got back home to mix the record, I realized that they hadn't done that. So I had all kind of technical issues. And yet, the song on that record, Ain't It Good to Be in Love, is one of my most popular songs and is really loved by a couple of friends of mine who are professional, award-winning engineers. And they didn't care about any of the things that were a little off in the recording because the song communicated joy so well. That's all they heard. They didn't hear any of the technical stuff. They didn't, I could barely have the hi-hat in the record because there wasn't a hi-hat mic and all these different things. I did a good job mixing it, but I had lots of challenges to overcome. And none of that stuff mattered.
Right. But this is the point of this, where things go wrong. Like, we're still having this great conversation, and I think we've got Kev back here, but it's about, things are never going to be perfect in life. And
hopefully I'm here.
You're there, Kev. Welcome back. How was space? How was outer space?
A little chilly.
Oh. Did you wrap your food in tin foil when you went up there?
No, I was wearing my aluminum foil hat, and I made sure that I didn't swear any time.
Tom makes his aluminum foil hats on the side as a hobby.
Do you really, Tom? I wouldn't be surprised. And then
I'm making that up.
Hey, remember, you forgot to put in the disclaimer that you can only believe 50% of what Joey says.
Man,
that much?
Wow.
That much?
The trick is knowing which 50%.
Are you sure it's that low? I don't think it's that high.
Yeah.
Well, this is Tom's rules. Here we are. We're back.
Pun intended.
I like that.
But I will say, like Lisa, don't make fun of the tinfoil food, because when I was a child, when I went to Cape Canaveral, we got some of that freeze dried ice cream. It was delicious.
Wow. Okay. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, they've got
really
instant
don't.
water now that you just, it's in a powder form. You just add water.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
wow.
delicious.
I have a joke about that, but I just had to bite my tongue. So
Yeah.
I'll just keep biting my tongue. But okay, so I want to go to Nancy. So music, Nancy, has been in our lives for years. We've taught it, we've performed it, we've written it. For you though, I know that you also have been a really good audience member. Have you watched, I mean, the two of us, I think not just audience, but like going back to teaching where we both taught retirees how to play the organ. This is our start in this country. We went from South Africa. No, but we came and we were in Florida, so this makes sense to bring up. This was when we first got here, and we basically lost everything in South Africa because everything went crazy and we had to get back home and start over, our lives over. And you could think it's over, right? And we were running for our lives, literally. And we were threatened in all kinds of different ways. Our story of getting out of South Africa is pretty nuts because we had what is known as the Broederbond after us there, which is basically the American version of the KKK, because Nancy wrote an article about a gentleman called Mike Sega. And this is when the Mandelas were coming into power. And we're not going to go political on anything on this. This is just what happened, but we want to get to the music part. But, so she wrote an article about going to a township that Winnie Mandela and the ANC said, you must come here and you will do this. And so she went off with the art director to a township and wrote about their story, their craft making and their small businesses that they had there. It was very nice. It was nice. Came back, and then at the same magazine, she put the Rocky Horror Picture Show on the front cover because it had finally been unbanned. And thank you to the Sydney Opera House actors that came over to South Africa and did it for 2 to 3 weeks running. Yes, we went every single night, became fans and friends, and we almost opened a second office of Nancy's magazine in Cape Town. And then this is crazy. Oh, here we go. See, yes. And but Frankenfurter was on her last issue of her magazine in South Africa.
I had to do it. I just had to do it.
Frankenfurter is like inspiration, right? But we get to this country and we start teaching music. And what we didn't know was this company we were working for were just basically upgrading seniors from one organ up to another one to another one. They were paying up to over $100,000 for an organ, a musical organ. Jesus. So it was a scam and we didn't know, but they would come in for lessons and it was a community. And I want to ask Nancy on this. I personally watched students, like one lady had lost her husband and she's now in her, this was in the 90s, right? Mid 90s when we got here. And so it's a different generation too. Yeah. And she had lost her husband. Some of the women didn't even understand banking, checking. And so this company was kind of like, ooh, let's go, and I'm like, oh, no. So we both quit over this, but we saw some really beautiful things. So one lady started drinking because she had lost her husband. She felt lonely, but she'd come to the store, the music store, and go into class. And we saw the drinking thing, and actually my boss, Stefan, and I, we kind of like, hey, you need to focus on the music, and got some of her friends to realize what was going on. She stopped drinking. She started really playing music. I watched a gentleman who had a stroke be able to start moving his hands again and actually play. You didn't have to be, all fingers on the keys because of the way the organs worked. It could do one finger and they'd have a rhythm, and they'd play in the mood, Glenn Miller in the background, and they would be able to learn and play. But some really progressed, right? I remember doing concerts with, Jackie, who taught me everything about Aretha Franklin. And she would sit there and go, sit down, girl, and play. And I'm like, well, I don't know this. She goes, you play. Who cares if you're right and wrong? We're having a party, So they taught me so much, and it taught me the power of music to overcome retirement, loss, grief, and actual physical things in your body, and how important music in this community of students. It gives me chills. Nancy, did that affect you too? And beyond the music stuff we did in performing, I thought that was really intimate.
Well, I thought it was really cool when you could find someone especially when you're talking about an older generation to have a choice of giving up and not learning anything new or going out and learning something new. And they could play the organ. And yes, there's a lot of automatic stuff that comes on the organ, like you can have an automatic drum beat and you can slow it up or make it faster. You could do all those things. But we saw people progress from turning off the automatics and really starting to play. And it was fun to watch them progress and get so much joy out of music. So to me, at first,
so beneficial
like,
for them.
Yeah, it was a good thing. And it's too bad that the company had some problems.
Yeah, it was awesome.
On the upper level, the people who owned it and ran it, and I think they had a little accounting problem going on. And, and it's a shame because what was happening in the schools, because we would teach the music to these seniors and watching them blossom and have so much fun.
Yeah.
And get together, and we put concerts together. And everybody got a chance to play, and they had a new purpose in life, and so they blossomed, and it's really unfortunate that the people who owned and ran it didn't see that or care about it, or they were just there for the money. But sometimes that's how capitalism works.
Yeah.
They missed the connection.
Yeah. Which is too bad because they needed it more than anybody else.
Exactly. Kev, I want to go to you. You were talking about your writing with Sully before you went to space with your tinfoil hat and food. So now that you're back on planet Earth, tell us what's going on with your writing, because it seems you have some changes happening with the Walkabout Band and music.
we're turning a little more direction. I keep telling them the music that I'm writing now is more on an electric side and not being so acoustically driven. Not to say that it's going to be harder, but we're kind of taking the gloves off. And we're putting on a set of brass knuckles.
Wow.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Don't get in his way.
No, it's definitely got something. We want, my idea is to have more music that people can get involved in, toe tapping and, really, really feeling what is being put across. And I've been working on it the past couple of years, and it's a lot of stuff is festering. I'll write 5 songs and gut it and turn it into one. So
you guys write some songs that are anthemic too, and that because of the lyrics are positive and also making you think, but there's just certain rhythms and things that you do that make it like, oh, people are going to be able to power it. It's empowering. I think that's where you're going with it, because even on the acoustic side of it, it's an empowering sound. And then taking it electric, I mean, you could call Bob Dylan. He'll tell you what happened when he did. But look at him. He's doing it now, right? So to me, change is always good, and it's fall. So go electric. I mean, isn't that spark it in there?
We've done our 4 or 5 releases, and we've all been, I don't want to say we're the same. There was something on each album for everyone. Mm-hmm. You may not like all the tunes on the album, but then there's going to be one that draws you to it. And I'm a firm believer when I'm writing something, if I can't remember it 30 seconds later and keep humming it, it's not worth pursuing.
That's exactly. That's why I said that's. I think what I mean about the anthemic thing is like you can get it. Like I look at like the Jack White 7 Nation Army, right? It's electric, it's simple, and it's anthemic. No matter how someone, whether you like it or not, right? If you don't like a song or not. And then some people start using it in campaigns, which is illegal. Just saying. Just saying. Well, but those kinds of songs are empowering. I wanted to go to you, Tom. What's happening with you musically? Anything we should know about?
Well,
because we've got anthemic rock going on here. Like, yeah, we're plugging things in, so we're gonna get some good vibes.
Yeah, you never know.
This is good.
Yeah,
we all like to be plugged in once in a while.
my last album was last fall, so I spent a year just kind of straightening up the mess that is my head and my studio. So I'm going back through my catalog right now and clearing out some stuff, experimenting with some artificial intelligence things. Joey, you and I have a conversation to have sometime soon. It's been interesting. Redoing some stuff that was recorded back in 1999 and stuff like that. So I got about 200 tunes that are in the bucket waiting for me to get to.
You keep saying 1999. I'm resisting bringing up Prince. Now I just did it. I had to. I couldn't. I've been sitting on that. I'm like, I want to say something, but I'll behave. Joey, what's happening for you musically?
Well, I'm still sort of promoting the current record that came out on June 28th, which is live from Macon in studio recording. And it's just me and the acoustic guitar. And
it is phenomenal.
It is a great album.
I appreciate that. It was just one take originally I did it for, originally it wasn't even supposed to be a record. I recorded it as B-roll for a documentary I was doing, and everybody responded to that so positively. They're like, oh, well, this should be your next record. So we put it out and had some real great success. The radio campaign's over now, but we did real well. We're the number one ad on several stations in Chicago and some other places, and did real well with it. But I'm still sort of doing that. I didn't really have a chance to do the official CD release concert for it until August because things were so busy, and I did that in downtown of the heart of downtown Atlanta, and did that. That was a lot of fun, and so we're still sort of doing that. And now, of course, it's Grammy season. And so everybody who's a voting member of the Academy is sort of out pimping their wares. So we're going through that process of just letting people know the record's out there and up for their consideration. And then I've got I had actually another record that I was going to release this year, which I'm going to do next year. I'm sort of changed my mind on a couple of things about it. So changing a couple of songs that were going to be on it. And trade them out with other songs. But the other thing that I can tell you is it may be this year or it may be next year. But my trio, right before COVID, my trio performed at the world famous Whiskey A Go Go in LA to a sold out crowd, and we were really excited about it. We've been touring all of that year, 2019. And we've been working really hard, and we kind of made it up to the higher level. And we actually have a live recording from that night. And I'm going to be releasing several of those recordings as singles, mainly so I can trigger the Spotify algorithm as opposed to an album. So I'm going to be putting those out along with the new record. And then there's also some stuff. And Tom, you've heard some of it. There's a couple of songs that we recorded just jamming together, getting ready to record another jazz record of mine. And that jazz record is going to come out either 25 or 26. I'm actually in the middle of, I've had it halfway done for like 3 or 4 years, 4 years, I think now. And so I've had it done for about 4 years, and I've just now gotten around to going in and tweaking it and finishing it up and mixing it. And but there was some stuff. There were some warm-up songs that we recorded just for fun, and those turned out really, really well. And so I'm going to be releasing those as jam singles as well. One of them is like Moon Dance by Van Morrison. And
nice.
So I've got a lot of music coming along. And then I've also found a couple of songs I'd forgotten about, 3 or 4 tunes, a couple I recorded back in the 90s, and one I recorded in the late 2000s, like 2010, 2011. And so there's going to be, in the next 2 years, there's going to be a lot of music coming out. And of course, I write new music all the time.
Oh, that's exciting. Sully, are you going to electrify your didgeridoo? Like, can you?
Well, I do play it through a microphone, so I can bring up the volume. And strangely enough, after most gigs, there's a few people that I would like didgeridoo groupies that want to talk about that stick with a hole in it and those strange noises emanating from it.
There goes Sully with his stick with a hole in it.
I've always loved the didgeridoo, and I've always been fascinated by it. Yeah,
I just like to say it.
Yeah,
I just like to say it even. But it is throat singing in a way, right? It's that circular breathing.
It's a circular breathing, yes, for sure. I put it through a looper as well sometimes, so I can add a few other bits and pieces. But yeah, definitely, it's not as common in this country as it is in my home country.
Sure.
Play the didgeridoo. Oh, there's another bloke playing the didgeridoo. But here, they're like, what is that?
Definitely scares the people here on Long Island, I'll tell you.
Yes, Long Island in particular.
Wow.
So been known to rumble a few glasses off the shelf.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I think it's so cool to have all these different instruments. You know, to me, that's the thing. It's Nancy and I are incredibly, like, when we were normal and had like a normal home as people do, we were terrible on the road. It was like, if you see other different instruments, I remember Nancy that one time in the Redwoods, we found some music camp was going on and people were selling all these, like, it was just this crazy hippie festival, man. And I don't know, but it delayed us for a while. For a while, we got kind of stuck there. I don't know why or how, but there was great music and it was drumming and there was all kinds of stuff happening in the Redwoods. It was this magical, just, I don't know. You know, when you find fairies in a forest, that's what it was like. It was like magic.
Is that where you learned the game butt pan?
No, we haven't butt panned anyone for a long time, but I may do it. I may have to pull out the butt pan in the elections. We'll see. But Nancy almost bought this whole xylophone made out of ostrich eggs. It's amazing.
It was cool.
And I realized we're going to go down this.
Exceptional.
It was exceptional. It sounded
you're
good,
cracking
too.
me up.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a good closure here. We've had wombats, we've had ostrich, we've had all kinds of good animals here, but it's always good to have you guys on the show. Everyone, this is part 1. Part 2, Joey will be back on. We've got some great friends coming on from Florida too. Hey, we've got California represented. Hey, we've got Australia represented, but don't forget, look in the episode notes. Everyone's links are there. We've got the Walkabout Band's Facebook link, tomrule.info, because he's an informative. And we've also got joeystuckey.com, of course, bigblendradio.com, but we've also got the links to the I really need to watch myself, the Big Blend radio playlist for Alive Day. It is the Alive Day music playlist, the big one. And it's going to have so much in there that you could just play it and let it stream all day long and all night long, and then all day and all night. And every time you feel like,
we more the merrier.
Yeah. And we should note, Lisa, that at least here in Macon, September 29th has been recognized as an official day of celebration. So you can crank up the Alive Day playlist on September 29th or anytime, but on September 29th for sure. And think about all the things that you're grateful for and reach out to your friends and reconnect with them and have a day where you take a moment to connect with your community and your friends. And I want to thank all the wonderful guests on the show today from the bottom of my heart. It's been amazing to get to know Sully and Kev. And of course, I know Tom very, very, very well. And that's why he pays me a monthly stipend. But anyway, thanks to everybody.
Lovely to cyber meet you, Joey, Tom. And
yeah, definitely. It was a pleasure.
With the girls.
Oh, listen. There's nothing like an Australian being on the show and calling Joey a Joey. That was ideal. As soon as you said that, I was
all
like, no way.
Is good eye.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I love it. I love it. Thank you all so much. Take care, everybody. And again, keep up with Joey and a live day. Go to joeystuckey.com. And in the episode notes, all the links are there. Thank you all. And let's celebrate being alive. Take care.
Exactly.
Enjoyed it, guys.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.